you loosely mentioned loving basketball a moment ago. Everybody's fave, including my own.
Mhm.
And I saw an interview that you did where you talked about how you were kind of miserable at the beginning of that experience, right? Which, for reasons I would love for you to explain, but it seemed like one of the reasons was that you didn't feel like your good friend Gina Prince Bythewood, that you were her first choice for this role.
Mhm.
It made
Mhm.
me curious. Did she ever tell you who she had in mind?
Yeah, well, they wanted a basketball player. They really wanted a basketball player who they could teach to act as opposed to an actress who they could teach basketball because she was a ball player. She didn't want she was like, if you don't look good, doing a layup, how are you going to believe this story? And I was very fortunate. I feel like there's a level of kind of destiny that happened with that because years before she got her deal, she had a table read just to hear the script for an audience. And um, the actress got sick who was playing Monica. And I was an up and coming actress, kind of just working here and there. And Gina had heard about me and she asked me to fill in for her. And so Gina didn't even have a deal. And so I had a basketball in my lap. I wore like a big, I'd come from the theater. I just like went all in. And she loved my performance. And then years later, she didn't see a lot of actors. She basically saw every basketball player. But because she couldn't forget my performance in that reading, I got a chance to audition. And so because it was her first film, and you want to get it right. It's your first film. She spent years on the script. She had all these people in her ear saying, you have to get a basketball player. It's possible. You can do it. And then, it kind of was a little torturous for me because it was one of those experiences where they just kind of just kept you like hanging on the side and they would just keep bringing me in. And so for the basketball players, they had to do the scenes and then do a basketball audition. Same with me. I had to do the scenes and then we'd walk across the street and I dribble the ball looking crazy because I had never picked up a ball. Like I had my brother come out and, go to the local court. And I was just like, you can't learn basketball in a couple of weeks or a couple of months. These girls had been, came out the womb with the basketball. And then finally, she just kept, every time I thought that it was time to, get to that next level or get the job, she would throw in another basketball player. And that became very emotionally really hard. And it went on for months and months. And everybody in my life said, you got to drop out. She doesn't want you. You're not going to get the job. And I had this one woman, this Black woman, she was the same spiritual mentor. And she said, what else do you have to do? She said, are you learning a new skill? Because I was, I finally said to them, I said, if you're going to get these basketball player acting coach, if you want me to continue, then you should get me a basketball coach. So they got a woman named Colleen, I'm forgetting her last name, and she was an assistant coach for the Sparks. And so she would take me out every day and we would just, I was like not a working actress at this time, like that. So we would go to the local court and we would do real basketball drills. And I was still horrible because you just can't learn. It's like you can't learn piano in a couple of months, you know what I mean? But everybody said to drop out. And then this woman, Debbie, said to me, she's like, you're working out, you're learning a new skill, you love acting, so just do it for the fun. Stop worrying about getting the job. And as soon as I really got into that place, it was a huge lesson for me because as soon as I let go and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to have fun and I'm going to learn basketball. And if I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. That's when I got the job. But so,
Amazing how that works.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
great lesson, like in practice.
Mm. How many times you picked up a basketball since you did that movie?
None. And when I came up, when I saw that I had this kind conversation with you today, I got nervous because I have not watched a sport since.
Well,
I
lucky
haven't
for
watched
you,
basketball since.
this podcast is not about sports. So,
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, okay,
so
okay.
you're
All
all
right,
good.
good.
I left
Okay,
that
good.
former life behind at
I know, because I would,
ESPN.
that would have been horrible.
Well, it was amazing. I don't think anybody watching would have guessed that you had just basically had to pick this skill up in a few months. After that, were you offered other sports roles?
No, there
Mm.
wasn't. You know, that was back in the time when it was like amazing for a Black woman to be in the lead of a movie. I remember getting a publicist and for Love and Basketball, and she was like, "Well, what are your next movies? What movies do you have lined up?" And I said, "I don't." And she said, "I've never represented any actor who has starred in a studio movie that hasn't had at least two pictures left lined up." And so, you know, thank God for this time. But that definitely felt like the olden days,
Hmm.
because it was a different time. You know, there were times when, I didn't work for a year, you know.
Well, it's amazing because you're also friends with Regina Hall and I believe
Hmm.
Gabrielle Union, who we
Hmm.
both know.
Hmm.
And I don't remember who it was. It was a black actress, but I just can't remember who it was who was explaining to me how she would go in for roles and it'd be everybody there from like
Hmm.
somebody like you to Alfie Woodard,
Yep.
right? And played your mom, like all across
Yep.
the spectrum. But you're like, and you guys are all competing for like the same, part. But,
Hmm.
many of these women became your friends. So I'm wondering,
Hmm.
considering how competitive it was and hard at the time for a black woman to get roles, how did you balance those friendships with other women when at
Hmm.
times you're competing for the same things?
Hmm. Well, in order to do this business, you have to develop some kind of philosophy about all the rejection. I mean, to this day, I get rejected on a daily basis with something. That's just the nature of Hollywood. And then being an actor, it's 10 times worse. And I learned really early on. And I think that's why a lot of people, start acting and they drop out, because mentally it's just too hard. I had to separate myself from my auditions, in that, um if I didn't get a role, and you're getting rejected for hundreds of things in the beginning. You're going out for everything from commercials to voiceovers to everything. um that you have to look at it as fun. It was the same kind of philosophy that Debbie had talked to me about. It was like, you have to look at it as, this is what I love to do. I get a chance to do this today. And then I had to let God take care of what I get. Because if for me, when I put it in the hands of these people, that's when you just feel like, ugh. So then there's a sort of kind of feeling of, what is meant for me is for me, and what is not isn't for me. And I think that's, part of why I was able to always be friends with my peers, Gabrielle, Nia Long, Regina Hall, because because of that. It wasn't about, may the best woman win, because we knew that we were all kind of in the arena. It was more about, what's mine is mine and what's yours is yours. And if I don't get it, yeah, you're upset for a couple of days, but you're not gonna, you know. And those friendships are so valuable, because the unique torture of being an actress in this business, especially a Black female in this business, is so unique that you need other women who are going through that to call when you're on the floor. And each and every one of us has been on the floor at some time or another, and had to call the other person and be like, look, I don't want to do this anymore. I really cherish those friendships because of that. They're necessary. They were necessary for my survival, at least.